You're always hassling me while I'm riding my machine and trying to be free. And I'm gonna put a stop to it.
You're all loony here. You're all stark raving mad. Where is Rowan Morrison? It's our Halloween episode, guys.
I am Blues from the movie The Wild Angels.
And I am Officer Howie from the movie The Wicker Man.
Even Ernesto is getting into the act. He is dressed as Lucky Garnett from Swing Time.
You thought he'd do Fritz the Cat, but no.
There he is. Okay. I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode I'm going to spring one on you. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement.
It's October, Matt, when churchyards yawn and hell itself breathes its contagion on the world. That's right, the beginning of flu season. But it's also Halloween, and on our last episode, you gave me a choice of 5 horror movies that you've never seen before, and I get to choose tonight's movie. So, what creature shall we be spending the evening with tonight?
I don't know, but I bet he's gonna scare me.
Tonight, we shall drink hot blood, because it's time for you to keep your appointment with Dracula.
Oh no, he's gonna get me in the neck.
Horror of Dracula, aka Dracula, was released in 1958 by Hammer Studios. Up to that point, Hammer Studios was best known for doing genre movies, crime, sci-fi, and such. But starting with The Curse of Frankenstein in 1957, they became synonymous with the word horror.
And synonymous with driving nails into wood.
Horror of Dracula was Frankenstein's follow-up, reteaming its stars Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing with director Terence Fisher. They would go on to make 20 movies together over the next 15 years, all of diminishing quality. Today, Hammer films are seen as high camp, but when they came out, they were revolutionary for doing things like filming a horror movie in color, using copious amounts of blood, and allowing women to have cleavage.
Hey.
Yes. The movie also co-stars Michael Gough, best known for playing Alfred in the Burton and Schumacher Batman movies.
Oh, yeah.
This makes the second major Alfred on our show, following Alan Napier and Criss Cross, leaving only Michael Caine to fulfill the Alfred Trinity.
The Alfred hat trick.
That's right, yes. So what do you think, Matt?
I think that this movie will scare me right out of the pants. And this is a great way to ring in the spooky Halloween season.
I have a gift for you, Matt. I know that you're afraid of vampires just like everyone is, so I brought you a little protection.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, that's a cross. It only works on Protestant vampires.
This was apparently stolen from a graveyard, and now it's mine. Won't you turn into a bat and flap on over to the old leather couch with us and then rematerialize into a person so you can watch Horror of Dracula? Thank you for taking some time off your job at Shining Time Station. I appreciate it. Cut! Jonathan Harker travels the Transylvanian countryside and arrives at Castle Dracula. He has just accepted a job as Dracula's librarian.
Or so it seems. Why would Dracula need a cannon?
He shoots teeth at people with the cannon. He's just optimizing his blood-sucking capabilities. Dracula's left a note saying that he's delayed. Harker has a nice meal, and he encounters a strange, big-bosomed woman who tells him that she's being held captive in Castle Dracula. She disappears, and Count Dracula arrives.
I am Dracula, and I welcome you to my house.
How soon may I start work, sir?
As soon as you wish. There are a large number of volumes to be indexed.
And they're all covered in blood. You'll need to clean that off first. And then you'll need to use whatever you use to clean it and squeeze it into a glass for me. And bring it to me. And then I'll bite you in the neck until you die.
It's tradition.
He shows Jonathan to his quarters.
May I?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
I have to go out, and I will not be back until after sundown tomorrow. But until then, please look upon this house as your own.
My own house, eh? Yeah, I'm going to masturbate all over this place.
And locks him in. Jonathan writes in his diary and reveals that he's not just here to be a librarian.
I have met Count Dracula.
He's pretty awesome. He's here to end
This man's reign of terror.
It's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
Jonathan sneaks out late at night and runs into the strange woman again. And then she bites his neck.
She pulls out her teeth.
Dracula shows up again and there's a vampire wrestling match. Now, Jonathan, you didn't tag in.
And then he passes out. Harker knows he has to act fast, or else the vampire shall strike again and finish the job.
And he finds Dracula's subterranean lair. He gets out his hammer and his stakes, and he stabs the woman through the heart. But he should have probably done that to Dracula first. Gadoink! Because Dracula wakes up and gets him.
Meanwhile, in a small town down the road, at an inn.
The landlord's daughter! Oh, Sergeant Howie, this must just be burning you up.
I want my dinner now!
Van Helsing arrives in town and looks for his partner, Jonathan Harker.
Will this bar be fully operational?
They're vampire hunters.
I remember the gentleman. He gave me a letter to post.
Hold your tongue, girl.
All right. I remember the gentleman.
But the landlord's daughter is very helpful in giving him the diary of Jonathan Harker.
So he goes to Dracula's castle himself. He finds Dracula's subterranean lair, but he finds that now Jonathan Harker has become a vampire. And he kills him. Jonathan's fiancée Lucy has fallen ill with a strange ailment. Her brother Arthur and his wife Mina are flummoxed.
She's anemic, she is bedridden, except for when the lights go out. Then she springs out of bed, opens up her garden windows, and waits for the arrival of Dracula.
Hey baby, what's happening?
Turns out that Dracula showed up in town to exact his revenge by taking Harker's wife.
After a quick examination from Van Helsing, he knows what's going on. Snap. Lucy has been visited by a vampire because she's got the bites in her neck that everyone else seems to just kind of ignore. He instructs the family to put up these old dead flowers around the room and to keep all the windows closed tight.
Do exactly as I say, and we may be able to save her. If you don't, she will die.
Van Helsing out. But late at night, the maid, after Lucy complains about it, she takes all the flowers away and opens up the windows.
Well, I did get fired from my last job for letting a werewolf in, but I can't imagine something like that happening twice.
I'll come back for the rest.
My former employers were beset by a Frankenstein.
And Dracula arrives yet again, and he finishes the job.
I can't expect you to believe me, but you will, I know. Believe Jonathan, his diary.
When the glorious revolution... Oh, I'm sorry. This is Mao's little red book. This is Jonathan's diary.
Oh, wait. This is Catcher in the Rye, another famous red book. I think this is Jonathan's diary. No, I'm sorry. This is My Little Red Book by Burt Bacharach. I do apologize.
Lucy is dead. Or is she?
I found this little girl here. She was very distressed indeed.
And she says that she just saw Aunt Lucy wandering around the countryside.
And then someone came along, and she ran away and left me, and I was lost.
And in conclusion, Arthur goes to the crypt to find that Lucy's coffin is empty. Whoa.
But the little girl goes out yet again into the night.
Runs into Lucy, who lures her off.
And it looks like Lucy is gonna have some dinner.
And then Arthur shows up.
Lucy.
Dear Arthur, let me kiss you.
And he pulls out a cross and he scares her away. And he kills Lucy for good this time.
Once again returning her to the peace of regular person death.
There's so much in Jonathan's diary I don't understand.
Like when he says, Wib lob nude. They go to the post office to try and find out if a coffin entered the country and where it went from there. But Mina, Arthur's wife, gets a note, seemingly from him, telling her to go to this funeral parlor and meet him there. She goes there, and she's beset by Dracula. She gets the old business here, and now he's got another woman that he's going after.
Dracula has infected Mina as well. They realize this due to a bad episode with a cross.
Uh-oh. To the Batcave.
Van Helsing and Arthur go into lockdown. They close up the house,
They watch her room,
but somehow Dracula gets in anyway.
and he drains out all her blood, and she almost dies until Van Helsing and Arthur give her a blood transfusion.
Oh dear, I put the transfusion on backwards. Now you're a vampire.
They find out from the maid that she's not supposed to go down into the basement, so that Van Helsing figures out, oh,
The killer is inside the house. Whoa! Crap! I just step out of the bathroom for 1 minute? Van Helsing puts a cross in the coffins, but Dracula, he knows what's going on. He just grabs Mina and runs.
there's a carriage chase.
I'm all out of string.
Dracula gets back to his castle. He tries to bury Mina in the dirt. That doesn't work. He runs inside his castle, and Van Helsing runs after him, and they have a scuffle.
If this was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they'd be having such funny repartee.
And Van Helsing, seized by inspiration, tears the curtains down. And the sunlight and the beam and the rays of the sun destroy Dracula.
Yeah! Dracula dissolves into the dust that he came from.
Mina turns back to normal, and the land is saved from the horror of Dracula.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
All right, that was Horror of Dracula, and Sergeant Howie, what's become of you?
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus Christ! Next year it'll be you who they sacrifice!
Who's they?
The cats, probably?
They would never sacrifice me. They love me.
Yeah. So, that was Horror of Dracula. That was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Did it fill you with horror?
It would have a lot if it was 1958.
Not only horror, but kind of scandal. I mean, it was very sexual, and it was very animalistic. It really highlighted the animal nature of the vampire,
Yes.
which I think is explored a lot in modern incarnations of the vampire myth.
Dracula is a sexual being, and that the women that he preys upon kind of love it. You watch Lucy, you watch Mina, they're really excited before he shows up, and even if they have a look of terror in their eyes, it like flits back and forth between that and desire. And of course that would be a huge thing back in 1958 because you rarely saw that outside of Tennessee Williams plays, in the States at least.
This movie also was a lot more kinetic than the classic Bela Lugosi version, which at times just seems like they're like statues. This has got action, it's got all kinds of jumping and running around.
Yeah, you think that Peter Cushing was born old, but when he gets moving, he's like ready for the kill.
So they really did turn the story into somewhat of an action movie. There's a carriage chase, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm. Did you find it to be scary?
I found that one shot to be scary. It's the one where she's about to get Arthur, and then the cross suddenly shoots into the frame, and she looks like a snake recoiling away from a whatever. You know, one of the things that really surprised me about this movie was how little Dracula was in it.
I know. I'm a little upset by that.
Does he have like a half a dozen lines in this? I mean, he barely talks.
No, he shows up at the beginning, really makes his presence known, you know, and he's interesting and totally different than Bela Lugosi. And then he doesn't really talk much for the rest of the movie. He's like Hannibal Lecter. Lecter's in Silence of the Lambs for like 20 minutes, but he's the person you remember from it.
I guess Dracula is sort of like Moby Dick. It's about the people who are hunting him rather than about him.
I was thinking while watching this that every generation gets the Dracula they need. You go back to the silent Dracula Nosferatu. He came after World War I and the influenza epidemic, and he came as a version of the plague and death. During the 30s, Dracula came as a European menace. And then in the 50s, he came as someone who offered sexual fulfillment. In the most repressed time in modern history, he was there to turn women on.
So what was the Dracula that Coppola gave us in the early 90s, and was that the Dracula that we needed?
In the early 90s, we just needed Gary Oldman to play Dracula. We had a Gary Oldman lying around. We had to use that.
Also, Dracula seemed a bit more sympathetic. That was the beginning of a time when we started to question what it meant to be a hero, what it meant to be a villain, where those lines cross.
Yeah.
We do see that Dracula does things for a reason. and that he's driven by anguish and he's driven by loneliness.
Yes. It may not be as scary all these years later. Is it still sexy all these years later?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think it's the turn of seeing someone who is an innocent and then suddenly they become an animalistic creature. That's what's sexy about it.
Yeah.
To me, at least.
Yes. He could not escape the role of Dracula. Hammer Films would guilt him into continuing to do these films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we've already announced in the States that you're doing the next one.
Oh.
And so he couldn't get out of it until the early 70s. It's amazing that he rebounded from that character, that we can see him as Count Dooku, or we can see him as Saruman, or anything, really, other than Dracula.
Great Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Classic horror that you should invite into your home so it can bite you in the neck and turn you into the godless undead. You should go to our Facebook page and like us if you haven't done that already.
How else would we know that we're liked?
If you keep up with our Facebook page, then you'll know the movies in advance and you can watch them before you watch our show. It's like being in a book club, but you don't have to read.
Yes.
And you can go to welcometothebasementshow.com, which is our website. There is a PayPal donation fund you can donate to support the show. Some good souls have risen to the occasion and done just that. Michael, who writes, I never miss an episode of this show. It's both hysterically funny and brilliantly insightful, and probably one of the best shows on the internet today.
Gornov says, I love your show. Thanks to it, I found such great movies as Brazil, Hosu, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. You guys are the best.
Robert, Patricia, Christian, Nanette, who writes, you two have helped me through some sleepless nights. Hugs, including Ernesto. Hey, you hear that, boy?
Max, you guys have helped pull me out of a severe funk in my life by making me laugh again. You guys are life changers, even if you don't think about it. Thank you.
Sammy, Corey, and Sean. Thanks, everybody. You did a good thing there. I've got a customer comment here. Hi, my name is Zoe, and I am 10, and I am in high school.
Well done.
Zoe, you're really advanced. My English teacher loves to show episodes of Welcome to the Basement for our weekly film analysis. One of my favorite episodes is Swing Time. I really like old movies and dancing. You guys make me laugh and inspire me to make my own movie review vlogs. Well, go for it, Zoe. If you do, we'd love to see him.
And if you're not Zoe, tell your English teacher to get on the bandwagon.
Yeah, English teachers, show this in your classes.
Wyatt Terrence has made us a TV Tropes page.
That's right, and Wyatt has gone through great lengths to provide detailed information for you, so go and read it and don't make his work be in vain.
It's at tvtropes.org.
And hopefully we'll be expanding that in the future. Lastly, we've got some fan art. Keenan Little has made a sculpture of us. There it is. We're sitting on the old leather couch. There's a TV. Good job, Keenan. And Chris Pollock, who has made quite a few pieces of art about our show. He does photoshopping with movie posters and stuff, and he puts our faces in there. He's done a great job. And here is his piece from The Wild Angels, and it's got the whole Welcome to the Basement crew represented.
If you want to find out more about that, check out our Facebook page and look in our photos. You can find a whole bunch of stuff by Chris.
And now it's time for Seen It.
Seen It!
Dust! My face is dust.
Francois Pierre. Have you seen the Evil Dead series? The first two were rather scary with some dark comedy, but the third, titled Army of Darkness, is still one of my favorites to this day.
Groovy. Seen it.
Seen it.
I really love Evil Dead 2. I think it is one of the great midnight movies of all time. Great movie in my book. That book, The Necronomicon.
Also, it's one of the best physical comedy movies of all time.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell in that movie does things that Buster Keaton would be proud of.
Right. It's such an amazing hybrid of comedy and horror. Because it is genuinely scary at times. But I will say, Army of Darkness, I hated it.
I like the movie.
I think everything they did right in Evil Dead 2, they did wrong in Army of Darkness. Rachel Zombro on Facebook writes, have you guys seen Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman? My boyfriend introduced it to me, and I've watched it twice so far. Love it. Seen it.
Seen it.
I saw Seven in the theater, and it scared and horrified and revulsed me so much that I hated it.
Really?
I'd never been affected that much by it. And so I translated it to I don't like it and I never want to see it again.
What I love about 7 is that you see hardly any violence happen in the movie.
You just see the aftermath of violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or people just talking about what happened.
Yeah, that is a scary movie.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Rock Joker 99 asks, you guys probably seen American Psycho with Christian Bale in it. Personally, I like this movie pretty much. That's very inconclusive, but I've seen it and I like it.
What a feat to take that novel and turn it into a movie that can actually be watched.
Yes. I hate to say it, but I don't know the director's name, but she did such a good job with that movie.
It really is a masterpiece of adaptation. The humor is there, the horror is there, it's all balanced. Good job, lady.
Yes.
This is her. We don't remember her name, but now you know it. Megan Hilt, have you guys seen Todd Browning's 1932 movie, Freaks?
Seen it. Not seen it.
You've seen some of it, though.
I started watching and I had to turn it off.
Because you got too freaked out?
A little freaked out, but just by the general freakishness of the freaks. Yeah.
Freaks are pretty freaky. I saw this movie under not optimal conditions. I was with a group of friends, and there were people there who weren't into it. I enjoyed it, but I didn't get to enjoy it as much as I would have if I was in the company of, say, a bunch of freaks. Joey Wondrak, have you seen The Happening? In my opinion, one of the hardest fails from a good idea that I've seen in a theater. Worth to watch just to know why it's so bad. Seen it.
Not seen it.
And you're right, it is pretty bad. Shyamalan, after it came out, he sort of backpedaled and he was like, I see this as like a great B movie. It's just bad.
Yes.
It's very bad.
Luckily, he made sure that would never happen again in the course of his career. He's only been laying down aces since.
Get it together, man. Remember what made you love movies. I don't know what I'm
watching
saying.
them, not making them.
Don't take advice from me. I'm sitting here in my basement wearing a wig.
Yes. That's Seen It, and that's our show.
We hope you didn't get too scared by tonight's offering. Don't leave your windows open. You should close them up tight.
If you meet a sexy man, don't let him bury you alive in the hopes that you come back as a vampire.
Just don't let anyone bury you alive.
Yeah, sexy or not.
We will see you next time. Pleasant nightmares.
Down.
I am Dracula, and I welcome you to my house.